Yeah, I think people are not very comfortable with uncertainty when they're definitely in their young ages. And I think that brings me to another thought. When I don't know what the objective is, how do I kickstart learning? What's the starting point?
Well, you got to
If I'm
figure out what
young.
the objective is, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think the thing is that, you know, learning is good. And so I think there can be a risk of like the kind of analysis paralysis where you spend so much time sort of fretting about, am I making the exact right investment, that you don't invest in anything at all. But then there's the opposite scale where there's the person trying to do too many things because they haven't kind of focused down a priority and committed to it. So it's about finding that sweet spot. But I think the idea is that learning works best when you have kind of specific concrete goals that you're working towards. So those can be to make something, like I want to be able to like make a website or make an app for Android or whatever. It can be a goal to sort of just learn something for a set period of time. So that was kind of like the Year Without English. It was like, okay, we're going to be in Spain for 3 months. Let's try to learn as much Spanish as we can. So it wasn't really constrained in terms of a particular accomplishment. You can be trying to learn for an exam. You can be trying to learn a particular book, a particular class. So I think it's just, you need to constrain the scope so that there's something specific that you're working on and it's clear when you're working on it, when you're not working on it, what counts as working on it, what the scope is. Because I think, wrangling projects down to that format where it's like, okay, I can actually make progress on this. I can actually just sort of plug away at it for a month or two is super important. And I think it's more important, the harder the thing is. So people often talk to me about like, well, what about, just this sort of just following your interests or curiosity for learning. Oh, well, that's great. But the thing is that when you hit some impasse where to get further progress requires you to learn something that's hard and unpleasant, well, then the curiosity goes down a different path, right? So, I mean, if you accept the idea that, well, a lot of the skills worth learning are going to have those impasses, then there's no other way, right? Like you need to have this sort of concrete, goal-directed sort of a learning approach. And again, this sort of ties into this whole broader theme of like, you could just learn a lot of things just being on Twitter all the time, right? You just follow interesting people and just read what they're saying. But as soon as it's sort of like, well, in order to understand the argument they're making, I have to first have like university level statistics knowledge. Well, like forget it. Like that detour is not going to happen just for most people. Just like, okay, well, let's pop open a statistics class and then spend 50 hours mastering it, and then I'll come back to that tweet and then I'll understand it. Like you're not going to do that, right?
Doesn't make sense.
The only way that works is if you're like, okay, you know what, I really need to improve my statistics knowledge. You buy a book, you enroll in a course, and then you learn it. Like that's the only way I've found that you can actually do that. So I think that's an important distinction to maintain. I think people sometimes would like it to be just all of the first kind, but I think there is unavoidable kind of little difficult steps involved in learning things. So I think that's why it's important.
Absolutely. I think, I can relate this to myself so much. So I started this podcast, the ideation of it is in 2019, August of 2019, right? And I kickstarted interviewing folks only a month and a half back. I touched like 15 episodes and I'm like, 2 years back, I did not know what the objective was, but today I do. Because via this conversation, so this 45 minutes, I'm going to listen to it twice while one, editing the video, second, while also editing the audio. I'm going to learn so much, not in terms of, oh, I learned from Scott and I want to be successful like him, but hey, I learned from Scott and these are the things that I can implement in my life, right? In case that makes sense to me, right?